Hi guys, it's Chris here, and I'm here to introduce this week's teaching. Now, while we've been in lockdown, we have been praying for you and we have been thinking about you, and we feel like we want to teach you and tell you more about our 5 promises. Okay, the 5 promises that we can learn about, but also that we want you to trust in them and rely on them. The 5 promises that God tells us. So we've got 5 points, 5 truths, and 5 promises. And over the next few weeks, we are going to be focusing on our 5 promises and what they are and how we can trust them and how we can trust God. Excellent. Now, you might already know some of our 5 promises because we've got our collectible cards and we've done teaching on it before. So if you know any of our 5 promises, I want you to shout them out straight to your TV or to your computer and shout them to me now. So think of any of the 5 promises and tell me them. Which ones have you thought of? Come on. Well done. You thought of some really good promises there. We're going to read them together now. So read them with me. As I read them out, maybe if I say promise number 1, you can say God says, and you read it out with me. Okay? So promise number 1, God says, I love you. Promise number 2, God says, I am always with you. Promise number 3, God says, I forgive you. Promise number 4, God says, I hold your hand. And promise number 5, God says, you can trust me. Well done. So that's our 5 promises. And that's what we're going to be learning about over these next few weeks. And as you probably know, we have a 5 promises song. You can find it here on YouTube. There's a special video for it on our channel, but we're also going to show you it in this video as well, so you don't have to go and search for it. We're going to sing it together right now in this video. Okay, so get ready. I want you to stand up. I'm not going to stand up because, look, I'll lose my head. Ugh. But if you stand up, give yourself a stretch. Stretch those fingers, stretch your arms, stretch your shoulders like this, stretch your neck, stretch your legs. Excellent. Jump up and down a little bit. Brilliant. Okay. Once you've had a good stretch, we're going to stand up and we're going to sing our 5 promises. Here we go.
Five Promises song. Are you ready?
Yes.
Here we go. Drop the bass. The promises of God said, I love you. I love you. I love you. The promises of God says, I love you. That's promise number 1. The promises of God says, I'm always with you. Always with you. Always with you. The promises of God says, I'm always with you. That's promise number 2. The promises of God says, I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you. The promises of God says, I forgive you. That's promise number 3. The promises of God says, I hold your hand. Hold your hand. Hold your hand. The promises of God says, I'll hold your hand. That's promise number 4. The promises of God says, you can trust me. You can trust me. You can trust me. The promises of God says, you can trust me. That's promise number 5.
Well done, everybody. That was really good dancing and actions and singing along. And hopefully now you've learned our 5 promises really well. And this week we're learning all about our final promise from God. It's not the final one he makes, but it's the final one in our song. Promise number 5. God says, you can trust me.